I'm sorry, Peasant Productions presents the mathematics of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. For those of you that saw the simple warning one, by the way, my rain sticks, I can point them at the core. Your earthquakes and your volcanic activity is up about 4,000%, I believe it is now, in comparison to what it was in October of 2015. Yeah. Armies of heaven, folks. It ain't no frickin' gun, and there ain't no walls or boxes that can stop me. You don't have something that outranks that, including your nuclear bombs. Yeah, okay. So, see you later with the idea that you're gonna threaten me with something so evil of human beings when you lose because you're trying to fight what the gods sent here. As far as the phase 2 goes for the International Space Station, okay, because of what I previously considered doing and building for a industry in space, I know a few things that can get the human race building very quickly and get an awful lot possibly up in space very quickly. Things that right now governments tell you take 20 and 30 and 40 years because they don't want you to dream and believe of freedom and stuff like that. I know is possible to do in like a year to 2 years time. Okay? It's that simple. It's that easy. And if you think that I am illogical in what I'm saying, stop and consider that the United States took an agricultural system, and in 1942, just a couple of months after the World War II started with that Pearl Harbor attack, that actually could go under the false flag, because even way back as a little kid, I kept running across all this data that there were an awful lot of United States officials and government people and corporations that knew that they were purposely causing a fight with Japan. They purposely knew they were trying to cause Japan to strike and hit. The same way Donald Trump is every bit as mouthy, as arrogant, and as ignorant as the little boy over there in North Korea is. They're both absolute egotists. They're both absolute idiots. And yeah, you guys want them in charge of countries and throwing nuclear bombs around because it doesn't matter. Like, Jesus is going to save me. Sorry, folks, Jesus didn't exist. Okay? The Christ entity, which I communicate with, and I got that Revelations 2:17 mark from, means I know the truth. Whether or not you like it, whether or not your Pope likes it, whether or not your little snot-nosed preachers running around collecting bunches of money for selling hot air, doesn't matter, okay? You're all in a whole lot of trouble on your planet. And technically, based on what we're seeing in the spiritual realm and myself, based on the idea of using literally hundreds upon hundreds of data points and hundreds of news feeds and scientific information and people observation around this planet, you got less than 10 years before your planet's going to be dead. So don't you think instead of sniveling that you didn't get a piece of chocolate cake like Donald Trump, that maybe you should sit down, shut up, and start figuring how to keep yourself alive? Because your little 2-year-old kid over there might want to have a future instead of being dead in 4 or 5 years from now as plagues ravage this country and the world itself. You cannot stop the mutation from the chemical, radiation, and medical waste that you have been pouring in every single water system you have on the planet. You have no ability to clean it up. You have no way to even begin to think of doing anything to clean it up. And instead, you're even trying to look at it logically. You're running around saying, oh, Greenpeace is better than Sierra Club. No, Greenpeace and Sierra Club are both supposedly doing the same thing. So Greenpeace and Sierra Club should be working together, along with Defenders of Wildlife and Friends of the Animals and the wolves and the polar bears and the pandas and you name it. There is no one particular thing. A human being is not greater than a mosquito to the gods. And if you don't believe me, go ask a god. Don't ask your little preacher boy who sells you bullshit for money. Okay? Remember, the only way you know you're going to get a place in heaven is you die. So you never get that money back, do you? There is no money back refund for it being lied to by the Pope and the preachers and the imams and the wizards and all the various people running around telling you, oh, no, don't believe them, don't listen to them, only listen to me. Notice how I never say that? Only listen to me. No. Go frickin' get out there in your world and check it. Look at it. See what's there. So if I understand how to make a biosphere, and I know how to do mining in space, and I know how to build an engine that can drive you around your interplanetary system quite efficiently and quite quickly, and I can develop a system on the moon that can house millions upon millions of people, and I can show you designs I got in the back of my head for a space station that's a small moon in and of itself that will easily hold 1 million people in a very nice environment. Wouldn't it make more sense to start talking to me and seeing what you could do to survive instead of partying it up? Like, what was that song? Party like it's the end of the world, 1999. Yeah. You're so caught up in worrying about whether or not you're with the in crowd that you don't care that the in crowd is a bunch of lemmings running over a freaking cliff. You're going to commit suicide. So you see, I know what all this is. I understand what all this is. I devise and improvise and invent and deal with all of that stuff to create the International Space Station. I used all of this to make that International Space Station happen and start 35 years ago. 34 and a half years ago. It was about summertime of 83 that it actually became a reality. And here we are. The United States has bailed as a fascist system, like I expected. Most of your governments around here are too busy being fascist systems and supporting the oligarchy, the 0.001% elite rich. You know, 1,000 people run your planet. 1,000 people care about the fact that they're getting whatever they want, and the rest of you are getting snot. The rest of you are getting beat. You're like the people running around screaming, oh, Trump's so wonderful, he's giving me back $1,000 on my tax return. Yeah, right. I sat down and read the tax return, and it took me 30 seconds to find that the elite rich got a 10% pay increase in just one little paragraph. You lost most of your deductibles that would have given you that $1,000. And instead, you're going to pay it out the other end because you're not going to see it on your tax return. You're going to see it on the fact that you can't put it on your tax return. You cannot deduct medical. You cannot deduct educational expenses. You cannot deduct umpteen dozen things because that's what's written in the actual law, folks. Plain English. Yeah. But, ooh, I'm getting a whole $1.50 or more a week now. I'm so wealthy. Donald Trump is Jesus Christ in the flesh. Nowhere on this planet can I find anybody willing to sit there and say, hey, how about all of us work together? We can tout it, we can say it, we can scream it, but actually do it? Oh, fuck, no. You got to be a freaking nut to think we're actually going to try and work. I just wanted to use that line so that I would get an extra 10 or 15,000 donations. Yeah. So, unfortunately, yeah, I have all kinds of systems in my head. I have all kinds of information in my head. I have all kinds of abilities. I have a brain power level that is not controlled by the United States government and declared to be this or that. It is brain power that all you do is look at my past history, and you will see I have defeated almost every problem I've ever come up against. I'm actually sitting here and realizing that yes, the gods have demanded that I go ahead and try and do this phase 2 of the International Space Station. And they kind of laughed and said, well, if you're up there, Peter, doing stuff, what's to keep you from creating one of those deflector dishes that they hang on Star Trek starships? They use to change stuff. Oh, yeah. Gee, I could do that. I'm not certain I can 100% do that, but I definitely can put some brain power to it. I definitely can neutralize all of the nuclear waste fuel, nuclear bombs, and other things like that with a simple deflector dish on an International Space Station that passes over just about every square inch of your planet. Yeah. So you see, folks, there's an awful lot of reason you might want to stop bickering like a couple of little snivelly girls and sit down like a couple of logical human beings and discuss stuff and look at stuff. And even if it's the wrong thing, still look at it, because you might glean a little bit of information out of it that does something. Because anybody that has studied history knows that about 90% of all inventions come because somebody told somebody else the wrong thing, and they went and checked it out, decided it wasn't right, but if we switch this for that, we can make it work. Yeah. The United States government wants you to be stupid because they want to be in control. They're teaching you to be stupid because they have Common Core, where there's only one right answer, and if you find a different way to find that answer, you're terribly wrong and a bad person, and you should be expelled from school permanently. Really. It's a good thing I pissed off most of my teachers when I was younger. Nowadays, they actually shove drugs down the kids' throats to make them behave and shut up. You must be an Ottoman for the military industrial complex. You must learn to work 8 to 5 to support a system that does not support you. You must support a military that takes your brightest and best minds and puts them in front of cannons and blows their heads off. While the dumbest are made generals and lead your country. Yeah. Illogical, absolutely insane. As Einstein said, if you do the same thing over and over and over again and you expect different results, you are insane. The United States people have been arguing for some 242 years that they are in charge, and they've yet to prove it. They've yet to do a damn thing about what is going on. They have yet to stop a military complex that has for 225 years at war somewhere, shooting, killing, maiming. The CIA, FBI have been under so many conspiracies and have done so much to destroy people, destroy countries and governments, just so you can run around and tell lies to everybody else about how great you are. So phase 2 is getting your acting gear and trying to give you survival, and I'm going to open up my cell up here, and I'll start releasing data that I had from the 1970s that was fully workable back then, which means absolutely everything will be better now with modern equipment and chemical bases and materials and operating procedures and everything like that. I mean, the whole ramification of what the industrial complex could be based on science instead of being based on war. And you might actually survive. In the meantime, it's easy for me to say, adios, you're on your deathbed.